Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Foreign Takes. I'm your host YT with Mr. Big Lev and Mr. KG. Boys, interesting weekend of Premier League results. Not too many happy faces, I think.
No, no. Sadness prevails, bro. Sadness prevails in the house of Big Lev.
Sadness was always in the house for
Yeah.
United, so it's all fine for me. Yeah.
Eh, you were born in the sadness,
Yes,
molded by
I was born in
it.
happiness. I was molded in sadness.
Yeah, yeah.
We might as well just jump right into it by the order that the games were played. So I think first up was Liverpool were up. They had West Ham, and the final result was 2 West Ham, Liverpool 2. Big Lev, was this kind of coming? Was this kind of expected?
Yeah, I knew that I didn't think we would win that game, and that's what they did. They're completely devoid of energy, man. Jurgen just shot his wad a little bit early when he announced, "Oh, I'm leaving in like November," and everyone just people don't have anything in their tank left.
Yeah, it's really obvious,
But I
right?
think, yep, yeah, exactly.
They also
But
lost midweek.
after the the Everton
Yeah,
defeat, it was done.
it was done. It was done after the Everton defeat,
Yeah.
and I agree with Big 100%. Like, you keep it till January. See how it goes. It's just it comes back to what I said at the beginning of the season that Liverpool they need another season. They need another transfer window to be fully competing there. And Big Love fully believes that it's not the case. But you know,
So they could have competed if Jurgen Klopp didn't let his ego get in the way and try to go for this quadruple talk, man. If they didn't, if they just concentrate on PL, they didn't have this terrible FA Cup defeat, their terrible Europa League defeat. They could have probably gotten some points out of the last three games.
Fair
But
enough.
he just wanted to go for the glory, and now he just has
but
nothing.
it's
We
something
have
that
the
I have said before. I told my prediction was that Liverpool's gonna drop off towards the end, and it's gonna be between Arsenal and City, whoever stands still to the latest. So I really want Liverpool had all the advantage. Unfortunately, if it was Arsenal that had that advantage over Liverpool, it would have been better. But I just don't want to see City win again. We're going to discuss
Yeah,
why later, but it's just unfortunate that Liverpool had that advantage because they were obviously short. Like were going to come
yeah,
short because of you can't keep going like this. You just can't keep.
yeah. Here's what happened, man. The team tried to just get a quadruple going off the back of narratives. Narratives like, oh, we came back like 17 times from losing positions. We got 25 points out of the last, ninth. We scored 25 goals after 70th minute. And those are not the narratives of a healthy team. Those are the narratives of a hype team. And when that hype runs out, you can't keep going.
Yep.
So, for example, Liverpool conceded 23 times this season, conceded first. That's a terrible statistic. That is not a team that's going to win a championship. And because Jurgen is leaving, he didn't really put as much time and effort into fixing those inconsistencies. The second problem, out of top 20 players with the most missed chances, four are Liverpool. No other team has two players in that list. So again, super wasteful. Didn't spend time to correct that, and now we'll see what this bold fraud will do, man.
What do you think?
Out of nowhere, now
What do you
we
think?
also have a bold fraud manager.
Before you move on to the newest bold man in the league, what do you think about Salah and Klopp having a feisty encounter afterwards, and then both of them kind of having different opinions on what happened? Klopp going like, "It's okay, we spoke," and Salah essentially goes and says, "If I speak, it's gonna be fire." I don't know what the fuck that meant, but
Yeah.
what's your perspective on that?
My perspective is Salah. It's Salah's, I think, probably his last season at Liverpool because he started so well, but in the last 2 3 months he hasn't really been in that great. and but they're both like super competitive, right? So I'm not surprised that this outburst happened. And I think Salah is still a star, so not starting him when you have basically nothing left to lose was questionable. On the other hand, you haven't been playing great. You tell what your manager tells you to do. I think if like Klopp was staying and Salah was had another couple of years in him, this would not be an issue. Like they could have still had this moment, but over the summer, like that would be corrected. There has been some, Salah has been upset before with Mane or others, and it's always like they fix it. But I think right now, it's just everyone's on edge, and Salah is probably maybe already considering Saudi Arabia.
This is normal though, right? Like I feel like this
Yeah,
is Sky trying to make the most out of a situation, but I'm like, this is like top level football. Of course, they're both furious. It's just one of those things. Like
yep,
I'm sure this happens even more often behind the scenes. We just don't hear about it. This just happened to be in front of it, right? Like this is. I feel like people make it out to be much worse than it is.
Do you think it affects
exactly, yeah.
any of their legacy at the end of the day?
No.
This fight that they're
Uh,
gonna both end. Salah's probably gonna leave Liverpool. Klopp's leaving Liverpool. Their last major
no,
point of when
no,
they're like under the spotlight was this big fight. And none of them are like.
No.
Do you think
No.
it's gonna be a story?
no. Unless this escalates over like the next week into some other like Salah gives an interview, talking shit about Klopp and stuff, then no one's gonna remember this. What they will remember is though the disappointing final end to the final season, man.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you also have to give credit in many ways, right? I feel like it's now so fresh, but on the flip side, it's like the fact that they refreshed their entire midfield and were still able to push this far is another perspective, right? It's like it
Yeah,
could be that it's actually a big achievement. In the same way, remember when Mourinho finished fourth with Man United and he was saying, "Oh, this is actually a great achievement."
second,
Second,
second at
whatever.
yeah,
least.
But I feel like it's the same thing. It's like it's just disappointing because they tailed away, but they still did amazing overall when you really think about it.
And Mourinho can get that
exactly. At the
title if the 115 charges drop. Okay, he's still may be crowned.
Yeah.
uh, y- yeah, 100% agree. So at the start of the season, the success would have been getting back into top four, competing, building on it. But because we have this, storyline now thrown in, or Klopp is leaving, they were so close to, and they just had to like close out some games. Nothing crazy. Then it's disappointing, right, in the end because they collapsed,
Yep.
and the collapse is the annoying. And why it's bad for the narratives, they collapsed against the biggest rivals, so it gives them like it's painful for us as a fans when Everton and the menu guys gotta gloat, and they should gloat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall successful season, of
Yeah.
course.
What do
If he was gonna continue here, then I'd be super excited for next season because as a team, you need those collapses as well to grow
Yeah,
and
yeah.
learn.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Are you excited for Arne's slot? Do you think he'll have some time to like rebuild the team?
I'm gonna be super honest, bro. I don't know who the fuck Arne Slot is. Like I know Feyenoord is. I've seen Feyenoord play well, but I'm not gonna be like out here giving you opinions on guy that I just very recently became aware of. Um, but let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like the biggest question is always like how much time they get because I feel like no matter who you are, I feel like you as a manager need at least 1 year to bed in, right? To like get used to the Premier League,
Mm-hmm.
to adjust the players, to also do one cycle of players. And I'm just curious if the Liverpool fans will give him that space, especially after, it's like Klopp has been there so long. So there's always
Yep.
this weird thing of a manager that's been long, the next manager always feels like it's a fall guy. Moyes did this,
yeah,
Emery did this.
Yeah.
So that's like the big worry, I feel like.
I think
I think they will, but it's within a range, right? They will tolerate him not competing. They won't tolerate not being in top four.
Yeah, that's a fair
that's
response.
a
The
fair
good
response.
thing is the owners are pretty good on just being very structured about it. So they're not gonna panic and pull a trigger and fire him like 6 months in. They have a good plan and they're gonna stick to the plan. And if it doesn't work, doesn't work.
Yeah,
So
He's in a tough spot. That's
yeah,
all I'm gonna say. He's in
yeah,
a very tough. It's a very
yeah,
tough
he
job
is obviously.
because there are staples and stakeholders in that team like the Salahs, the Van Dykes, the not so much Allison's, but the Trent, the things that you have to solve. Like a Klopp could have dealt with it in his heavy metal football, but Feyenoord doesn't play heavy metal football. They play a similar style, but not the same style. So he will have to change, bring in the right players, and I'm sure it's not going to be the same problem that Ten Hag faces, which is we don't know anyone who to buy, and he goes, "Oh, I think I coached Amrabat. It was decent, and then Amrabat sits on the bench for the rest of the season." That's not going to be the case, I believe. Still, it's going to be tough, and if it doesn't work in the first moments, it's very tough to switch the style of football. Because Feyenoord is now winning in Eredivisie. They're second. They're decent, but PSV has been just running away with it. PSV has been really good this season. They
Yeah.
barely conceded, I think, 25 goals or something like that. It's crazy style of playing. They're running away with it. Adjusting the style of play from the Dutch league to the Premier League will take some time, and as long as he gets the time to do what he does, and if there's positives, and even if they finish sixth or fifth or seventh, they if they give him time, he may be in the long term the best thing that happened, the best solution, or he's gonna be the Emery, the Moyes. He's gonna try, they're
Yeah.
gonna fail, and next season there's gonna be more options.
Yeah.
That could
I
also
mean,
be.
we might as well talk about the existing Dutch ball fraud in the Premier League. So Man United won, Burnley won, KG. I feel like this officially was the last straw. Overall thoughts on this game?
I don't. I think the last straw was passed a long time ago. I don't think it was a last. The last straw was already like three straws ago. You know, it's not. I don't know what to say. The United games in the Premier League are useless right now. There's no point in watching them. The only thing is that you kind of hope that you don't finish seventh and get go to the Conference League at the end of the day. That's the only thing that United need to worry about. And let's be real, like people would say, but we can still win the FA Cup. No, you can't win the FA Cup, even if you get all the players um, back fit and firing. They're not. They're going to be fit. They're not going to be firing for the final. And of course, I'm saying this right now is with my head clear. But come gay day, I'm going to be supporting United. There's no other way around it. In terms of the game against Burnley, there's two big things that I wanted to kind of two big themes that I wanted to highlight. First is the inconsistencies of the referees. That handball on at the last moment on one of the Burnley players is an exact replica of the moment that happened against Coventry, not given. Uh, and we're going to talk about the City game later, and I'm going to come back to it. But that's the second theme is Onana. We did a take saying that Onana was up there among not so best signings, and people mentioned to us that he is either a signing of a season or he's been decent, and he did everything in his power to showcase the opposite and prove us right, because he did two mistakes for the midweek games against Sheffield United, and it just showed that Sheffield United and Burnley are completely two separate teams, and Sheffield United has been relegated already, and they're just not Premier League level because they went one up, twice up, and United still overpowered them. But when they're playing with Burnley, they were on par. And yeah, that Onana made two mistakes. He gave away the ball, and then he gave away a stupid penalty. People can blame Casemiro for doing this, doing that. Casemiro's mistaken back pass has nothing to do with the mistake that Onana did. Onana completely missed the ball, completely missed the time. He cost us another penalty. I don't know what's up with this team. I can count the last 7 games they considered a penalty in the last one. Like on a 90th minute. That's just bad management, bad coaching. Like if it happens once, if it happens twice, you would learn how to like your first thing as a manager would be like, do not concede a penalty in the last minutes. We're done with that. That would be one of your goals, one of your expectations. But even without that, all of that being said, United should be beating Burnley. There should not be even the conversation of, oh, the referees made a wrong call, or Onana gave away the penalty. You should have been 3-4 up in the first half, and they weren't. They were just not good enough. And here is a hot take for you. I think Everton plays better team football and better team structure. They have a bit better team structure than United. After watching Everton get 3 wins of the past week and adding the points that were deducted from them, Everton probably are closer to United than than they actually are, and they're better in their team structure than United as a team.
Yeah.
All right, so a question for you: would you swap out Ten Hag for Sean Dyche?
Uh, for this season, yes. For the long term, no. For the long term, I wouldn't get Sean Dyche. Obviously, I don't think he's a Man United. It would be the same thing. Like
Yeah,
it wouldn't. Like we want to go forward, we don't want to go back.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
T-
yeah.
Ten Hag has had enough time, right? At this stage, it's like there's nothing to say. Like Ten Hag has enough time to say, here's the style of football I'm trying to implement. Or in opposite, what Arteta did, he clearly had a temporary style of football and then switched it afterwards.
Yeah.
But I feel like not a single Man United fan can say what Ten Hag is trying to achieve. It's just completely changes every minute. This feels like.
So there's a narrative among United fans, and it's mostly driven by these the fan channels that are similar to AFC TV or whatever. Those fan channels that are very pro the team, like against the owners, and they really like Ten Hag because they think that the players are at fault, and they think that the players are just this bad people who don't want to play for they play for the paycheck and all that. But that narrative has been around a handful of managers, and since Mourinho, most of the players are gone. Most of the bad apples are gone. There's only Martial left, and Martial's not even probably training with the top team. It's the Rashfords. Yeah, there are certainly characters in the team that clearly don't belong there, and they're not making them work as a unit. But in terms of Ten Hag, as you mentioned, what is he trying to achieve? My problem with Ten Hag, my three staples and questions to Ten Hag is, what are you trying to achieve? If you can't achieve that and you don't have the players, why don't you adjust it to get a result? Because getting a result is more important than implementing a style, especially for a club like United that needs to get in the Champions League for you to succeed. And three, why are you quoting that? Oh, like the players are not, or like saying that I didn't have the preferred lineup that I wanted. Essentially, he said that like I didn't have my ideal lineup for the 18 months I've been here. So my question for him would be, why is Amrabat on the bench not playing? You wanted him. You wanted Amrabat. You're not playing him. Like he's not even starting before Christian Eriksen, who doesn't have a heart. Okay, the man has a fake heart in him. Like it needs special technology to get it pumped up. You don't put Amrabat instead of him. What has he done wrong? Like all of these questions, he has no answers. He doesn't address the shortcomings. He just plays the way he plays. And this if this is your style, and you think, oh, I'm going to put better players in, then it's not going to be a style of play. It's going to be reliance on brilliant players. Like if you put Frankie De Jong on there, yeah, the style is probably going to work until Frankie De Jong plays there. What if he gets injured next season? You're going to put Scott McTominay there again, and then we're going to go to shit again. Like, just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard this from so many United fans, and it just feels like Groundhog Day. It's like every week, same questions. Whether it's a win or a loss, it's like same question, same question. Something has to change this summer.
But if you look at it objectively, right? Like you're a neutral towards United, right? Look at it objectively. Your starting striker, who would you be your starting striker? Hoyun, right? He started.
Yes.
Who would you be your starting left wing? And it's not Rashford this season, it's
No,
Garnacho. He
it can.
started.
It has to be Garnacho.
Yep. On the right, who would you start? Like, there's no Sancho, obviously, you got to fall out. So this season it would be either Anthony or Ahmad. Both were present. Who's your starting attacking midfielder? Bruno. Bruno's been playing with a broken hand. He's the only man who carried this team wherever they are. Without Bruno, would have been 10th. So Bruno's playing. Who's would you be a starting defensive midfielder? It will be Mino or Casemiro. But because you don't have a central defender midfielder, Casemiro was also available. So you could put a 16-year-old as a center central defender, and Casemiro would have played as CDM. So Mino's playing. Yes, you had your second or third choice in Ericsson because McTominay was on the bench and he still started. So that's the main chunk of players. You only didn't have Mount there. The only people who you didn't have as your preferred uh, players were the three positions: the right back, no, not even two positions, the center backs, because the
Yep.
right back Dalot starting, he's your main starting back. Maguire is your second choice. So essentially, two positions is one center back and one left back is your third or fourth choice options. But everyone else is your first choice starter. That's not an excuse to lose to Burnley. I don't understand it. Now, who do you
I,
miss so much that you can't beat Burnley? Who
But
name
I
me?
think that you everything you've said just proves that I think he's just out of his depth, right? I think
Yeah.
this everyone knows that at this stage. I
Lisandro
think
Martinez was just as a final point. Lisandro Martinez is not going to make you magically win 5-1 Burnley. Okay.
no, yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. It's like everyone's dealing with injuries. Also, it's not a
Yeah.
United specific thing. I think just quickly moving on, I think we touched base on probably the game of the weekend was Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 2. It was one of the craziest games. Aston Villa went up by 2 goals. Chelsea pinned them back second half. And honestly, they scored a 93rd minute equalizer that was ruled out for offside, sorry, for a foul by VAR. But it seems like Poch, the attacking wise, when they seem in the mood, the team is actually pretty decent. And I think we have all slated Nico Jackson, but he's getting better and better. Like I know his finishing is terrible. He's very Darwin Nunez esque, Nunezi 2024, as Big Love likes to say. But his move,
Darwizi, bro.
Darizi. But I just I feel like we've his movement is super underrated. Like he's actually does a lot of good work, but Palmer as usual just incredible. Like I think so. Chelsea might be
What a
one to
find.
look out for. What a find, right? Like imagine last minute
Yeah.
signing, last transfer day, signing of the season for the Premier League.
Bro,
One of.
Jackson, for all the grief that I've been giving him, has been let down by Chelsea's stupid transfer strategy and the coaching. Because if Jackson was a backup striker to a more experienced guy where he could grow and not be in a spotlight, in 2 years he'd probably be an amazing number nine. But now his finishing is still shit. He's really young, and the whole team just has no fucking structure, no leaders. So the spotlight on him shines very bright.
Yeah, I built.
Yeah.
He could really grow into something good.
Exactly. I completely agree. It's like the more you watch him, especially he had an amazing finish and like a run and assist and a finish that was counted for offside by like a
Yeah.
millimeter. But you
Yeah.
look at it and it was like, oh, okay. When he's not thinking about it, when he's just automatically just playing
Yeah.
on instincts, it was a brilliant finish, brilliant run, brilliant finish. And that's the thing. It's like you see that there's hope for him, I think, to become a top tier striker.
His movement was top tier, and uh, I think Nico Jackson can be a potentially good striker. And this Chelsea has potential. That's why I don't think they need to move away from Poch.
Yeah, I
He's
agree.
doing the best he can with the team that he has, and they still have players that they need to get rid of. I don't know how much they can bring in, but he can still do. He can build up this team. I can see them 2, 3 years down the line being a competitor for top four. Maybe not next season. Maybe the season after that. So
Yeah,
good job for Chelsea. They pulled it out of the bag, honestly. It was 2
yeah.
0 up. I stopped watching it after 2 0 because I thought Aston Villa was going to crush them further, but kudos to Chelsea. And for Aston Villa, what do you think? What's your take on Unai? Good evening, Emery.
I think he does these things occasionally where he's not willing to make changes. Like some games, he'll make changes very quickly. He'll make a double sub, triple sub early on. But there's other games where he seems really stubborn and proceeds with the same thing, like playing a high line when it's obviously suicidal to play a high line. The Spurs game, but honestly, overall, he's done an amazing job. Like a lot of the failings, they should have buried this game. It should not have been 2-0. It should have been 4 or
Yeah,
5-0. But it's just one of those it's just football, right? You can do all the planning, you can do all the right things, and the other team can also mess up with your plan. So I think this was less about Emery, to be honest, in this game, and more credit to Chelsea because they were first to every single thing in the second half. It was just
um,
but overall, I think next year will be the really big year for Emery because they're in favorites for Champions League. They're going to continue. It's just like, will he be able to get any more signings to get one or two big players in? If they don't give that to him, like what can he do? Because I think the jump between where he is now to the Liverpool, Arsenal, City, I think might be a little too far. But honestly, 10 out of 10 work by Emery. Like you
yeah.
cannot criticize him really.
They are in the Champions League because they cut off like, already the sixth place, which is both Fraud and Co. Can't make it to the top four officially after amazingly like stopping Burnley from getting 3 points. They are, and let's be honest, Spurs were chasing them, and Spurs are not gonna be able to
Yeah,
make.
I think the big thing is if he wins a European Cup with them this year. I know it's the Conference League, but it's still a European Cup. They should build a statue for him because when you think about when he came in, where they were with Steven Gerrard, and now less than 2 years later, where he's taken them, the fact that he's about to win a trophy with them, plus he's going to get Champions League, it just says everything you need to know about Steven Gerrard's quality and also everything you need to know about Emery, right? It's like it's really shining.
Will Emery get offers this summer from some top teams?
Yes,
Ah,
I think it's inevitable. Bayern were already, I think there were rumors about Bayern possibly trying to get him.
didn't Bayern
I
get?
think
I thought Bayern got Ragnick, didn't they?
No,
No.
they're still not unsure because about Nagelsmann. But yeah, I think that's why he signed an extension actually with Aston Villa. So I personally think that was a statement to say, hey, I'm actually going to stick out
Yep.
with this project. So I think that's a good fit, to be honest. Like they love him, he loves them. The team is giving him funds. The players obviously believe in him. He's improving them like the existing players. So even the existing players
Yeah.
feel like they have a chance to stay in the team. They're not going to get replaced by a signing. So I think he's going to stick around.
Mhm.
We should talk about the title race itself. I probably Arsenal had a ridiculous game today. They won 3-2 away to against the Spurs, so the title race continues. KG, I think you and I were chatting, but this Spurs Big Ange is the most stubborn manager I think in the Premier League. He refused to make changes even though it was failing. And I know Arsenal nearly dropped it, but sometimes his decision making it just makes no sense. Like they refused to make changes to their corner defense, and we scored two and should have had two more from corners.
Look at him next year when they're in Europa League and he refuses to make any changes, and they're not going to be presumably, assuming I know it's far off, it's eight, not like, it's 6 months down the line or 5 months down the line or whatever, 4 months down the line. Hopefully, United are back at it, Chelsea are back at it, whoever else is Aston Villa still continues. He will drop way more points with the Europa League and the way he plays because second season syndrome or getting found out. And if he doesn't change and he continues to believe in this, I don't see him. He's an amazing manager. I don't think he has this long term expectation or the ability to win something.
Yeah.
If I was Tottenham, I would rather win some sort of trophy and be happy with it than play this amazing football and finish fifth barely. You know.
Yeah, because they very clearly have made the decision that they're going to outscore the opponents. It's not
Yeah.
about defense. It's like because time and time again, Arsenal was just we had one of the slowest forwards, Kai Havertz, and they have a very fast center back, obviously with the Van de Ven, but it's just so unsustainable over a season. It might be fun for one or two games, but over a season, you're never going to win anything. So that's why I was quite shocked, to be honest.
And how are you feeling that essentially your title race is in their hands now? After you beat
Yeah,
them, they're going to play against City.
well, please. I hope we know what they are City's bogey team, but this is a very different version of Spurs. So at this stage, there's not much Arsenal can do, right? It's like we're winning everything we can win. At this stage, we're really clicking after that bad week that we had, where we were crashed out of the Champions League and had that terrible loss to Aston Villa. But
I think
at
crashing out of the Champions League has been a blessing. Because why do you
yes,
need an
Yeah,
extra game?
and Arsenal should say thank you to Liverpool for beating them in FA Cup because that saved you a lot of energy too.
yes, I agree. Because you can clearly tell we are like, using the same starting 11 again and
Yeah.
again. But yeah, I will admit being as disappointing as it was, especially the way we got kicked out, similar to Liverpool. It was the style in which we got kicked out of Europe that was disappointing. But for at this stage, we're clicking. Like the team is on fire.
Yeah.
Everyone is energetic. Everyone knows what their job is. And you can, the difference when they're motivated, you can tell they do that extra 10%. They're not at 100%, they're at
Yep.
110%. And that's
Yep.
the way we are right now. Even when we were defending in the 90th minute, it just was so satisfying to watch. Honestly, it's like one of the most satisfying periods
So what
as
do
an Arsenal
you,
fan.
No, so you can see a little bit of fatigue, specifically the way they just gifted two goals.
Yes,
That's a mental fatigue.
yes,
But Arsenal still had that, as you said, extra 10% in the tank, which Liverpool now did
yes,
not, and they can push it and they can take care of the games. So with I don't know how many 3 games left for Arsenal,
yep.
they should probably win all of them, and then let's see. I'm not gonna say City will slip up because they're fucking ridiculous, but maybe they will.
Their
yeah.
only game to slip up was today, but Chris Wood
They have
is basically a
Spurs.
fucking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about today's game because honestly, there's not
Well,
much to
just
say,
your
right?
opinion. Do you expect Arsenal to win those on the remaining 3 games? That's the only question.
Yes,
That's okay.
yes, yeah. I expect us to win the remaining games at this stage because I think I read this somewhere or I read this somewhere, but I think last season was the fire, like Arsenal's fire mode, but this season seems to be ice. It's like we're much more cold. We're like very calculated, so it seems much more controlled. So I think the last 3 games, yeah, we're gonna win the last 3 games. I have pretty high confidence. It's just a question of will City screw up. Really, it's what it comes down to.
It's similar to those, like, the Liverpool's versus Man Cities, where it was like who's going to blink first, and sometimes it ends with that 1 point or 2 point advantage, and it's just going to be boring as hell if there's no like two slip ups down the way, either for Arsenal or for Man City, and it's just going to go this perfect storyline for Pep the ball fraud. If he wins the league, I'm at least hoping that United have the balls to stop them at the FA Cup so they can have the least
Yep.
amount of partiness in them if they can.
um,
But I really would that in an ideal world it would be City losing the league and the FA Cup.
yeah. Should we talk about? I mean, there's not much to say about today's game between Forest 0, City 2. This was just Chris Wood screwed us, right?
Two things.
Uh,
First, it's Chris Wood, the tank engine, and the three who can't shoot for his mom to save his mom's life. That's number one. And number two is City get away with the same calls that United don't get away with. Ederson shouldn't have got a red card. That should have been a penalty, not a red card, but a penalty. Do you agree with that?
yeah, I think the only slightly different circumstance was that the defender got the ball as opposed to the.
No, 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 no. He
Oh,
completely
did I miss
missed it.
that?
He
Oh,
missed it.
yeah.
The ball was away. He missed it. He completely punched the Bowley. The only difference was that Bowley is
Two
he's
clear
a
cut
bigger
goals.
dude than Amanduni or whatever
Yeah.
the Burnley player was, and he literally hurt himself by tackling him, and that's why it was like seemed as, oh, Ederson felt bad and it's not a
Yeah.
penalty. It's
Can we
very
talk about Forrest? Mark Clattenburg. So Forrest have assigned him as their referee analyst, whatever that means. Do you guys have any idea what he could be possibly doing? Like, it seems like the weirdest job that they hired him for Forrest. Like, it really does make any sense to me.
It is a weird job that they signed him up for, but I understand why they did it because they've been stolen. So many decisions went against them. It was stolen
But
away
what
from
can
them.
he do? What is he supposed to do about it?
If you can address some pressure to the PGMOL or advise them on what was done wrong, or he can be the analyst saying, like, he can be the one um, like just basically collecting all of the wrongdoings, and then they can do a case against PG Moyle because that seems like what they're going to be doing because they tweeted in the other day, I think last week, they tweeted that we're going to be going. We're going to be taking action against PG Moyle and the decisions that went against it. And every pundit went across the pond, went like, oh, how dare they do this? How dare they do that? I am actually for it. I'm actually for it. Not the reason why I'm for it, and Mark Clattenburg, I know it's a clown decision to hire an ex referee and pay
Yep.
him money to do something, but I'm glad they're standing up to it because nobody else is standing up to it.
Yep.
These stupid decisions get called every week, and what the pundits do is they defend the referees. They defend the cartel essentially, and they're defending the only people who have any power whatsoever on the decision making. Every time there's a wrongdoing by a referee, nobody gets punished. Nothing happens to them. We only hear excuses from the pundits like Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher going that, oh, it was a tough decision. Oh, yeah, like they're just human. They're human. It's okay to make a mistake. Somebody has to do something about it. And if it takes Forrest to do it, let them do it. Because how many times we're going to be living with this, and it shows that there's actually something under it because the pundits immediately started defending a small act. Like if there was nothing there, and you're coming from a position of nothing there, you would just ignore it. You would just say, oh, it is what it is. They had to go attack it, and they have to go openly say, no, we're against Mark Clattenburg doing this. And Gary Neville had the audacity to say that, oh, Forest players, it now gives them an excuse to, if they go down, to say, oh, the referees went against us and not try 100%. So he's
Interesting.
so he's assuming that the Forest players are not going to be going 100% because they have Mark Clattenburg in their corner. Today's game did not. I didn't see any like window of that happening. That the players are not trying hard enough because Mark Clattenburg is there. And
I
they
agree.
and they nitpick arguments. They take arguments that are stupid and they go and say this is why it's never going to work. Jamie Carragher pulled up a commentary or a dashboard that people were saying that people who support different teams should not be refereeing them or something. So essentially, if you're from Manchester and you support Manchester, you shouldn't referee an Arsenal versus Liverpool game. And they had to dissect how that doesn't make sense. But that's like a small argument that you saw somewhere. Nobody's actually for it. People just want competent refereeing because it's obvious that there's something afoot here.
They
Yeah.
seem strong. Like the teams that are going to be coming up next year are going to be quite strong. I feel like they're going to, unlike this year's, which was relatively weak set of three teams. I feel like next year's are going to be the opposite. They're going to be coming prepared to fight to stay in the Premier League as opposed to this year. Just
Yeah.
quickly then, just wrapping up with the last two topics. So Leverkusen have maintained their unbeaten streak. They had a 96th minute equalizer again against Stuttgart, who should have won this game. But what do you even say at this stage, right? It's almost getting ridiculous. Like it's unbelievable, essentially, that theirs is, I think, their maybe 15th or 20th 90-plus minute equalizer that they've scored this season. It's just ridiculous, right? Or winner. Like, is this written in the stars at this stage?
Move over, Arsenal.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. There's going to be Champions League coming back, a lot more Premier League. It's basically squeaky bum time, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Let me press stop on this.